Howdo, everybody, and howdo specifically to you, Docky. How are you doing this evening? Welcome to my latest Let's Play series. This is Let's Stream Stranded Deep. Stranded Deep, I believe, officially released in 2018, though this was an early access title, I think back when early access first started. I remember seeing this pop up in early access, I want to say spring of 2013, or maybe 2014? It was pretty early, like in the year, as I recall. But, I've actually been playing this game since the 0.01 alpha, so I've played for the entirety of the game's lifetime. And, well, it's not the greatest survival crafting game out there. It's good enough, and it's sort of a gateway game that led me to other interesting titles, one of which will be played further down the line. But I wanted to go ahead and do a Let's Play of this game, so here we are. I'm glad to hear you're doing good there, Docky. So, I already have picked out a map seed, which you can see here on Cartographer, right here where my cursor is. If you want to copy this world seed for yourself, feel free to take it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the map I already have, because I've only kind of scouted out our starting island to see if it's any good, because the procedural generation can kind of shaft you if you're not careful. So, let's see. We'll use an existing world, so this will use the map in Cartographer, the same seed. We can play single player or multiplayer. From my personal experiences with the game, play it single player. The multiplayer was definitely a tacked-on afterthought and doesn't work as well as it should. Plus, there was a lot of questionable design decisions that went into balancing the multiplayer, which really shouldn't have happened to begin with. We'll play on normal difficulty, normal wildlife. I'm male, so I'll play with that. If I was playing New Game Plus, which I could turn on the bonus crate. I believe what the bonus crate does is it gives you, I want to say it gives you a spear gun right off the bat. It also gives you a rubber duck. It also gives you a chest at the very start of the game you can use to store stuff in. This game's fairly easy enough on its own without it, so I see no reason to actually use it. And we are not playing permadeath. So, let's get started. Yes, I want to overwrite this, because I haven't really done anything on this world besides a practice run. Let's make a physical adjustment here, get a bit more comfortable. So we start our adventure on a plane, a private jet. Now, I actually remember in the very first versions, which I may or may not show off as a bonus episode at some point, this whole airplane section here was actually your tutorial in the very early versions that explained how the crafting system worked. But here, it's just a glorified intro cutscene that kind of explains how we got into the situation in the first place. Something crashed into our plane, there's a huge hole in the side, and we crashed into the ocean. The Pacific Ocean, specifically. So we need to get out of here before suction kind of pulls us down with our ship. And we need to get to this little life raft right here. And it blew up before we were able to actually get on the raft, but we somehow end up on it anyway. So, unlike a lot of survival crafting games out on the market, Stranded Deep kind of attempts, I say attempt, emphasis on that term, it attempts to go for a more realistic approach. You're not going to be encountering things like monsters, aliens, undead, or anything like that to harass you. Anything that is going to bother you in Stranded Deep is anything that's going to be a challenge if this were, in fact, a real-life survival situation. So we're primarily going to have to deal with hunger, thirst, poison, exposure, wild predators, and other hostile wildlife. You know, and they're not out to get you in nature. They're just animals being animals. But the point being, you know, we're not going to be seeing much in the ways of fantastical elements here. So I already know kind of where everything is around this island. And I do want to make a few starting moves if possible. Now, did we get lucky with this? We did not. Okay, so this one still doesn't have a crate. That's like a boat derelict. Sometimes they have wooden crates on them. And wooden crates are good for storage, which is especially paramount because in my practice run, this island had an abundance of plants. Really useful plants at that. We're talking like food. So, and as per the realism angle, fruit that is still on the tree will eventually rot and disappear. Unfortunately, there is no system for wild plants regrowing. If you want plants to regrow, you have to plant them yourself. And the only way to plant them yourself is if you have something to get a seed out of, which will be the original fruit plucked from the tree. Thankfully, they don't despawn or they don't rot too quickly, so we can still spend the first little bit here gathering rock sticks and all other sorts of like detritus scattered around on the island that we've found ourselves on. So something nice about Stranded Deep is the starting island you end up on, unless you're playing with either mods or playing on a custom island, which is a thing. Your starting island will always be safe on land. The water, not so much, but the land will always be safe. There are no terrestrial hostiles to harass you on the very first island, so you can take your time kind of acclimating to your new surroundings, finding items, picking up a spot to set up base. You know, no real worries aside from the standard time limit imposed on you by a survival situation. So what I like to do at the very start is I like to look around specifically for sticks, rocks, and cloth. The big one there being rocks specifically. Rocks are probably one of the biggest limiting reagents in the game. Oh, okay, so we now have a full bag, so I want to hold the C key and make a stick pile. Now, I know where I want to set up my base, or at least where I want to set up my initial little campsite. I want to set it up over here somewhere. So we'll put the sticks... Yeah, I kind of want to set it up like over here. So we'll put the sticks... Gotta keep an eye on where these like palm sprouts are. So how about this? We'll put the sticks... I could probably put them on the shore. That'd probably be a better place to put them. Thankfully, high tide won't like wash our sticks away or anything, so... We'll put all that away. I can do this with rocks as well. So make ourselves a rock pile. And I'll go over the various kind of controls as we go along. Today is going to be very much a tutorial video where I try to get all of the mechanics and stuff that's relevant out of the way. So feel free to ask questions if this game seems interesting to you. I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. One thing I will say, though, one of the main reasons why I'm trying to get all the tutorial stuff out of the way first is this is a fairly long game. The core gameplay loop is pretty basic, and you'll more or less be ending up doing the same things over and over. It's more or less fairly routine once you actually get yourself situated. But there's just a lot to do. There's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of islands to go to, a lot of resources to gather, and there is a sort of nebulous end goal, but the game does not tell you how to do it. So you kind of have to figure it out on your own and try to not die. So, let's see. Any more sticks just kind of sitting around here in the bushes? Now, despite the fact that these are bushes and they make leafy sounds when you walk on them, I believe these are treated in-game as rocks. So you can't, like, build inside of them or anything. Attempting to do so will just give you a message saying, hey, you can't build that here. What do you think you're doing? And, you know, can't replace bushes or anything by trying to build on them like you can in some games. But back to what I was saying before, rocks are probably going to be one of the biggest limiting factors in the early game. And even throughout the game, they're a pretty limited resource. There are very few unlimited resources in this game. I want to say clay and fibrous leaves are the two really big ones. And anything from an animal, too. Any sort of animal-based material is also unlimited, because any animal you kill will eventually respawn. But as far as raw materials go, plant matter, for the most part, does not respawn. So, plant matter, rocks, various kinds of scrap. All right, so how many rocks do we have in here? 14. That's not bad. There's usually somewhere between 14 and like 12 and 16. Are you first time in this game? Lao Maki. No, I am not. Also, Haldo, welcome to the channel. I'm glad to see a new person. I am not new to the game. I've been playing this game since the very first version, 0.01 Early Access Alpha. But, let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So what I want to do now is I want to go around the island looking for all of these various plants, like the potato, the kura fruit. The way food spoilage works, I'm sorry if I'm bouncing all over the place, but I kind of have a lot of important stuff to talk about at once. The way food spoilage works in this game is any food that can spoil, which is any uncooked meat, or, well, any non-smoked meat, I should say. Any non-smoked meat, potatoes, and the 2 edible fruits. They will eventually spoil if you don't eat them. And when they spoil, I hit the wrong button. When they spoil, they will eventually despawn. I don't think I can grab this fruit because the yucca tree's in the way. No, I can't. Okay. I'll come back for that. And like I mentioned earlier, they can rot and despawn off the tree, which will prevent you from using them for farming purposes later. So I want to pick these up now and keep them in my bag. Ideally, I would actually prefer to find a... Nice. Ideally, I would actually prefer to find a box to put them in, because then I can store them for future use, and even if they rot, they won't disappear inside the box. So when I eventually do get farming plots set up, I can plant them in the farming plots as rotting fruits and whatever. So I need a box to put that stuff in. Let's see, pick both the potatoes. So now we gotta get started with tools. How am I doing? Okay, so I'll go over a basic control here in a second once I get inside the shipping container. We got lucky with this. So while we're waiting, because we're just going to have to wait here for a bit, I'm going to go over how the game handles the heads-up display. As this is going for a realism angle, you don't have a HUD that you can just look at a glance without having to interact with anything. What you do have, however, by pressing the F key and holding it specifically, is you have this survival watch. There are 4 different screens on this watch. Your first screen here is your statistics. From top to bottom, you have health, hunger, thirst, and SPF. So health is self-explanatory. You reach 0 health, you die. Hunger just kind of drains over time. Eat food to keep it topped up. Water is the same way. Keep it topped up if you can. For hunger and thirst, if you start starving or getting dehydrated by having these bottomed out, I believe it causes a consistent health drain that from full health will kill you in 2 in-game days. SPF is probably going to be the one we're probably going to be worried about. I would say probably the second most, water being the first. SPF goes down whenever you're in a high UV area, which if I step out of here, you can see in the corner next to the date it says UV. Now I'm standing in an area that says UV high, so that's going to make the SPF go down. If you go into an area that has UV none, you're kind of standing in a sheltered area and your SPF will slowly regenerate on its own. If the SPF bottoms out, you suffer from heat stroke and your water gauge will really rapidly drain. It's an easy way to get killed. On the second one, we have the skill tab. We have hunting, cooking, harvesting. That fourth one doesn't have a name because I accidentally swam and got some experience, but that's physical. And craftsmanship. I'll go over what those do when we get a level up in each. Status effects. Healthy is the only positive status effect in the game. What that means is you have enough food and water to regenerate HP. And then we have this screen, which is actually new. I don't remember seeing this in previous playthroughs. This must be a new thing with an update, where you can see your various statistics. So cool. Now, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 15:11, so SPF shouldn't be a problem at this point. Okay, so I want to start making a basic tool here and getting a base set up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to gather fibrous leaves using a stone tool. Now, to craft stuff, you have to find the raw materials you need, which in this case would be a stone. You have to press either the C key to open the crafting menu, or you can press and hold C to get a context-sensitive crafting wheel. I prefer using the crafting wheel, personally, so you'll see me use that a lot. But as long as the materials are nearby, you can craft with it. Now, where is that yucca tree that had the plant next to it? This one. Okay. So this should take 6 hits with our little stone tool. I want that kuwawa fruit. I want to get as many of these as I can before darkness gets here. Fibrous leaves. Cool, cool. Okay. So I want to focus on getting fibrous leaves at the moment because fibrous leaves can be used to make rope. I guess while I'm doing this, I'll go over more basic controls. As a PC game, I know you can play this on console too. I personally am playing this on Steam, so it's WASD to move, spacebar to jump. I believe it's control to crouch, but I have my crouch button rebound to left alt as I do in most games. It's left click to use whatever's in your hand. Right click is actually like drag and drop. You can physically grab onto items and like kind of pull them around like this. And of course, the bigger the item, the more resistance it'll have to being dragged around. I should have 18. Yep, doing pretty good. So that's the 3 yucca trees stripped bare. So I want to look for these palm saplings next. Because palm saplings will also give fibrous leaves. You open your inventory with tab, it's press and hold. I think there's a toggle, but I just prefer holding it, and then it opens this radial menu where you can select whatever. You'll notice the top slot is whatever's currently in your hand, which in this case is the stone tool. I don't think it's the default button, but I did rebind it to R to put away whatever you have in your hand. But there's no reason for me to put my stone tool away right now since I'm still using it. So you can check the durability of tools that have it by mousing over it in your inventory. You see here 76% durability. The stone tool loses durability at a 1-to-1 ratio, so that has 76 hits left in it. So we just gained a harvesting level there. Harvesting is one of the skills in the game, and what that does specifically is harvesting determines your damage from tools, like harvesting tools specifically, on any sort of harvesting node or inanimate object. Like, it determines the damage to these palm saplings, the yucca trees, these palm trees when I eventually start cutting those down. That shipping container over there, you can break the walls down on it, and having a higher harvesting skill will make you break that faster. A higher harvesting skill also determines, or the harvesting skill in general, also determines your return yield for breaking down structures that you make. Like, say, for example, a campfire. I think a campfire is 4 sticks. Yeah, a campfire is 4 sticks. So if we made a campfire with those 4 sticks and then decided, I don't like where this campfire is placed, I'm going to destroy it, get my stuff back, and move it somewhere else. The higher your crafting, or the higher your harvesting skill, the more of those sticks I would get back. At this low a level, I'd probably only get 1 stick back at most. Whereas with max level, I'd get all 4 of them back. And you level up the skill. Most of the skills in this game, well, actually not most, all of them, use a learn by doing system. By performing actions related to the skill, you get experience for those skills. So breaking harvestable objects will get you harvesting skill. When I got into the... What's my SPF? Doing pretty good. I just noticed my arm was looking a bit dark because of the sunset there. But when I went into the shipping container earlier to get out of the sun, I ended up swimming a little bit. Swimming is one of the ways you can level up the physical skill. And when I get a level, I will explain what that does, but most of the skills are pretty self-explanatory once you know how they work, and you can more or less ignore them for the most part. You don't have to go out of your way to try and level them up if you don't want to. Because, for the most part, they'll just go up on their own, just by playing the game. So let's see, 46. Okay, there is a fibrous leaf plant here, a palm sapling. It seems to be glitched. I can't target it to hit it. So that's just going to be there taunting us forever, but it's a small price to pay considering how otherwise abundant with stuff that this island is. Let's see. Any more palm saplings about? So again, going with the realism angle, this game is very dark at night. It's really hard to see. The only thing we have is the moonlight, and our watch doesn't exactly help us despite having a nice backlit screen there. We will eventually get the ability to make light sources that can help with that problem, but... Ooh, a rock. Nice, I missed that one. But for now, we're just going to have to kind of deal with working in low light conditions. Ideally, you actually want to work on stuff like this during the night, because that way you don't have to stop in the middle of it to get out of the sun, because the sun's not an issue. You're not in the sun. Let's see. Trying to think of some other basic controls. Let's see. C is open the craft menu. I mentioned that already. I think Q is drop. Yeah, Q is drop. Let's see. You can hold left shift to sprint, or you can set it to toggle. I think mine's set to toggle. Okay. So, let's go ahead and make some more... Either make some more piles or add some more stuff to it. So, let's see. I found a steak. Okay, I found a decent amount of fibrous leaves. That's not bad. So let's make a fibrous leaf pile. I'll make that... Let me move these cloths out of the way. Make a pile right there. Go ahead and make all this. There we go. Okay. So how's our stone tool doing? 40%? So I can probably break a few of these ficus trees. Ficus trees will give us sticks, so this will be a good way to not only clear some space to where we can see and walk around our island a bit better, this will give us more sticks to work with. Because as with most survival games, wood is one of the most key resources you can get your hands on. Now, with a stone tool... Oh, hello. I'll take that. With a stone tool, these ficus trees, regardless of how many sticks they yield, will take about 10 hits. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, there we go. So we do kind of have to be careful that we don't accidentally break our stone tool on them. I can get one more, so let's go with this. Ooh, another one. Okay. Just double checking around here, make sure there's nothing I missed because of the low light. Okay. So this stone tool is about to break, and much like Dark Cloud, when your stuff breaks, it vanishes. So we have 5 more hits on that, so let's hit this one. 2, 3, 4, and let me just make sure. Yeah, 2%. 1. Okay. So we don't want to hit anything else with this. If we do, it'll break. What I want to do instead is take it over here to the crafting pile. Now that we have a nearly broken stone tool, with the fibrous leaves, we can make a lashing. And if we move the stone tool over here next to the sticks with the lashings that we've got, we can turn this stone tool into a knife. Now, the knife actually has a specific purpose besides just being a slightly better stone tool. I never used this for harvesting, so this one knife will be sufficient for what I need it to do. So that's going there, and I'm going to make another stone tool. Stone tool. Let's get back to cutting down some more ficus trees then. Just take advantage of the cool of the night. This is another one that should give us 4. That's going to give us 2. Same thing with that one. So it'll give us 4. All right, harvesting level 3, not bad. So I think with that, with a stone tool, we can start taking these things down in 9 hits. Okay, so my bag's full, so I can't empty my hand. Let's head back over to our little base area over here and deposit some of this stuff. Oh, it's full. Okay, so that's a full stick pile. So let's make another one. Now, the reason it specifies these as wood sticks is prior to modern versions, there used to be piles of driftwood that you could find on islands. And they actually gave a separate resource from sticks called driftwood sticks. I believe you can still find the... what is it? I believe you can still find the driftwood piles on random islands, but they don't give driftwood anymore. They just give wood sticks. So that's kind of just the descriptor to differentiate it from driftwood, which is no longer a thing. But since I have played the game since its beginning, I can kind of give insight into what the earlier versions were like. How mechanics have changed, what items may have been added, what items may have been removed. So, at least for a couple of episodes, I should have a sufficient amount of stuff to discuss. And as I mentioned earlier, anybody has any questions for me, feel free to ask. I'm always open for discussion. Let's see. Okay, that's most of the ficus trees down. Now, these big, sort of thick trees here, these are decorative. You can't cut those down. And it's a good thing, too, due to how islands work. Islands in the real world are kind of reliant on the trees that are stationed on them in order to exist, period. So, if we actually clear-cut this entire island, we would have killed the root system, ultimately holding the island together. So, definitely don't want to do that. Let's see. 13%, so we can get one more tree. Now, where was that first ficus I was cutting up? I don't think it's that one stuck in the bush. I may have cut it down already. I have 3 hits with this thing. It might be this one. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So, don't want to hit with this thing again, so this is useless to us for the time being. So let's make another stone tool. And I'm not just going to be wasting all my rocks making stone tools. There is a method to this madness. Because much like how the stone tool at 1% made a refined knife at 100%, so too can you make the upgraded harvesting tools that require a stone tool using one that's nearly dead to make a fresh tool with 100% durability. The game does not check for that, so it's just efficient play. It's something I like to do. Okay, please excuse me. I feel a sneeze coming. Never mind. It just decided it wanted to fade away on its own. Okay, so now that I've done that, I don't want to start cutting down palm trees just yet. Actually, I do need to cut down a couple. Let me find a small one. Let's see. This one right here will do. I do want a couple of coconuts because I do want to make a coconut pile. Let's see. Coconuts. Let's go ahead and make a pile. And we'll put the coconut pile... We'll put the coconut pile right over here, I think, would be a good place to put it. Let's let's see. How am I doing on statistics? I need water, so I'm going to eat the Cora fruit. Now, I don't want to eat too many of these, because I think eating too much fruit will eventually make you sick. Okay. So I don't want to eat anymore, primarily because I need these 2 fruits for farming. I'm not going to eat the potato, because I don't need food. Of the 4 vitals, water is probably the one that's the most concerning, which actually does have basis in the real world. You can go for about 3 days without food. Or, no, what is it? No, it's like you can go for, like, I think up to a week without food before starvation will kill you. You can go, like, at most 3 days without water before you die from dehydration. So water is going to drain the fastest because it's the thing that can kill you the fastest if you don't pay attention to it. So my first primary mission, once I have a foothold here, is I'm going to want to take care of a water solution first and foremost, which means we're going to have to do what the game calls island hopping, which is going from island to island. But first, I'm going to have to, like I said, get a foothold here, and I'm also going to have to set up with tools and the like, because I am not leaving this island without some method of defending myself, because there are hostile things out on the water and on the land of other islands that I will need to protect myself from. So it's best to go ahead and get a base set up, get some form of defense, and then we can head out and start worrying about our other issues. I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of palm logs, just so I can make a log pile. Yeah, as you can see, palm trees take a decent chunk out of my stone tool. They take a lot of hits to break. I think it's 14 hits. No, it's 13. Okay. So with these logs, I want to make a log pile. And I will stick this over here next to this bush, just to kind of have it out of the way. Now, the palm trees we cut down do leave behind these stumps. Stumps are pretty easy to get rid of. You just need to save the game and quit back to the title screen, and that gets rid of them. So let's start chopping these up. This has 7 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just checking. Yep. 7. Okay. So instead of making another stone tool, I want to take this one. I want to make a lashing. Okay, that leveled up our craftsmanship. So craftsmanship is probably one of the more important skills to level up in the game, because it's the only one that actually has stuff gated behind it. What craftsmanship does is you level it up by making stuff, as you just saw there. And what that does is it grants you access to higher tier items. Like if you scroll down here, you see here the crude fishing spear, the cloth. This says requires level 2, level 3, and so forth. We have level 1 craftsmanship. So we have the ability to make, for example, a crude axe, which is what I want to make. So let's make a crude axe. That'll use both of the stone tools we've had in our inventory, but it gives us a fresh harvesting tool. So now we can break this stuff not only a lot faster, the durability is a lot better too. I believe this has triple the durability of a stone tool. So you get 300 hits instead of 100. And we want these for the palm fronds. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to set up a base. Specifically, I want to set up a shelter. Okay, my bag's full, apparently? Okay, yeah, I need a... Oh, I can't do that. Let me put these sticks away. There we go. Okay. Grab the lashing. Now, what do I need for a shelter? Let's see. Okay, I have enough stuff, so let's go ahead and make a shelter. And I want to put the shelter probably like right here. I want it to be relatively flat. So we'll stick it. Let's see, I want that right there. So we'll put this right here between these two trees. So now we have a shelter. And the next thing I want to do is I want to make a fire. And I want to stick the fire right in front of my shelter. I want to put that about, let's see. I'm walking into my shelter, turn around, 180. Get that as far away as I can. Right about there ought to do fine. Yeah, right there ought to do. Fire. Now, before I do anything with that, I'm going to need, I believe it's 3 rocks and 2 sticks. I also want my knife. Here it is. So we could do something with this fire. However, we can upgrade it into a fire pit. What that does is that makes the fire last longer when you light it, which is what the next item is going to be for. We need 2 sticks for kindling. So now we have kindling. Kindling is an infinite use tool that you use to light a fire with. And the refined knife is how you get meat off of animals in order to cook it. So if I ever have to like catch and cook anything, that's what those are for. Basically just kitchen utensils, more or less. So let's see. Let's make a palm frond file. Palm frond pile. We'll put that right here for now. And since I still have some nighttime left, let's continue cutting down palm trees, collecting more coconuts and whatnot. Let's go for the bigger ones, I think. Those ones are... You can climb palm trees, but I find, like, the really big ones, you run the risk of falling off and hurting yourself, so let's not do that. I'd rather not risk getting a broken bone. Which is one of the things that can happen. And whenever you knock down a palm tree, if you haven't collected the coconut yet, you can get the coconut off of it. That's 5 hits. Six. Okay, 6 hits for one of those, so it should be 12 for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Add these to our log pile. Okay, we got another huge tree, like right here. Let's clear the trees out from this area. Where'd that coconut go? There it is. The sun's about to rise, so let's take care of these real quick. Alright, got another harvesting level. I think that puts us to level 3. If not level 4. Harvesting levels up pretty quick, because honestly, like, once you're on an island and you're safe to do so, 90% of what you're going to be doing is harvesting resources. So, harvesting is probably going to be the skill that I max out first. I'm not going to go out of my way to max out every skill, but I know that harvesting is going to be one that definitely will get maxed. Okay, so now it's daytime. We're not safe enough to go out on the water yet. It's not quite late enough in the day. However, what I can do... I'm going to take 12 of these sticks and go away from the stick pile, just so I don't accidentally use anything in there. And I want to make a crap ton of crude spears. Okay, so now I've got 12 crude spears. You can see they stack up to 4 per inventory slot. Those will be useful for self-defense. Now, spears, you can either attack with a melee attack with left-clicking. If you right-click, you go into a sort of zoom/ADS mode. Like, when you're like this, you can left-click to throw it. I don't want to throw it right now because whatever it hits would break it. But, let's see. So now we actually have a tool to defend ourselves with. And my next objective is I want to find a box. And the way I can find a box is by looking at shipwrecks. Like that one out there, and somewhere, I think over in that direction, there's like a sunken plane. Because this is the same map that I use for my practice run. Despite that huge ship over there being on the horizon, that is not a shipwreck that we can loot. That's actually a point of interest. That will be one of our goals, actually, is figuring out what to do with that thing. But for now, it's more or less just a landmark. So let's go ahead and save. And what I'm going to do is, now that the game has been saved, pay attention to that stump. If I go and leave to the main menu, since I've already saved the game, that's not going to make me lose any progress. We continue. And if you look, voila, stump's gone. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I think I can make a water still, can I? Let's see. Yes, I can. I can also upgrade my fire pit to a smoker. So let's do that. I need 3 sticks, a lashing, and a cloth. So let's make a lashing. Take the last of these sticks from this pile. And then we can max out our fire. We can make this a tier 3 fire. Because right now it's a tier 2. Oh, right. I need a cloth first. So, let's see. Smoker. And now by holding Q, we can rotate the smoker. Okay, I'm guessing that's because the kindling and the knife is in the way. Let's try that again. There we go. I like it being facing, like the opening facing wherever my shelter is. Okay, so now we've got more or less a basic base setup. We've got a place to cook our food, we've got a place to sleep and save our game. And this will be the basis for most of my bases in the game. I'm going to be making multiple. Now, where did my knife go? I put it somewhere. Did the kindling just, like, scatter it somewhere? I think it did. I really don't want to have to reload my game just to pick my knife back up. Oh, here it is. I'm going to put that right there, just so it's there for when I need to use it. Okay, so we have a smoker now. I'm going to need a cloth. Let's see, what do I need for this? A water still. I'm going to need 2 lashings. Because I need 1 lashing in order to make a coconut flask. Go ahead and drink from that to get a little bit of water. That's fine. Let's see. And then I need some palm leaves and I think 3 rocks. Not enough from inventory? Get my axe out then. Water still. Okay, so this is important because this is how we're going to be getting most of our water, is via these water stills. So I will put this probably over here would be where I would stick them. So yeah, kind of here along the shoreline, I think would be a good place to put them. Yeah, somewhere over here, I think. Relatively close to base, but still in a safe-ish area. So, yeah, like right here, I think. So with that, I'm going to grab some of these. And I want to fill up the fiber part on the bottom. And what that's going to do is it's going to slowly burn these and fill up the flask with water. So let's save now. And I want to go rafting about. Days survived 1. We'll be seeing that plenty of times. We want to right-click our raft to pick it up. Drag it over here. And we are going to be heading out into the sea. We're not going to be going to another island, however. We're just going to be kind of looking around our own. Okay. Grab the paddle. Now, notice here we actually have raft storage. This has a compass, a bandage, and 3 rations in it. The rations are probably the best base food item in the game. They restore 3.5 bars of both hunger and thirst. And it can potentially even get better once you get better further into the game. So what I want to do is I want to head to that boat. Now, when I was playing on my practice run, this ship did not have any crates on it, and I had to go find another wreck to get a crate. But I do know, however, that even in an individual save file, the contents of the shipwreck are procedurally generated. So we might get lucky and actually find a crate in here. So a big tip I'm going to give you right now, you kind of hear how we have this sort of adventurous sailing music going on right now. Pay attention to the ambient background noise, because Stranded Deep uses audio cues for a sort of like early warning system. Okay, so unfortunately we don't have any crates, but the ship actually did have some pretty useful things in it. Let's see. We got ourselves a label maker, which is going to be really helpful. That'll let us rename stuff eventually, including other containers, like the wooden crate I'm looking for. A flare gun. A flare gun is a 2-shot light source that you can use for a temporary boost of light at night. And a jerry can. I'm not going to personally use this for its intended purpose, but there is something you have to use that for. So with our bag full, we can't really do anything else here. So let's head back to shore and drop this stuff off. Now, y'all may have noticed when I first spawned in, there was a shark kind of hanging around my raft. The first shark you encounter right when you load up the game always seems to put you near where one of the sharks will spawn, just so you're guaranteed to see it while you're going into your island. There are 4 sharks in the shallows around any given island. They have their own territories that they stick to. And those sharks are the main reason why I have all these spears. Save, because just in case something bad happens, we don't want to die. Now, something you can do if you feel particularly cheeky, or if you're particularly unsatisfied with the RNG hand you get dealt when you're looting a wreck, you can save scum in this game if you are not playing hardcore. I believe permadeath disables save scumming, I think. I might be thinking of Subnautica. But I do know that you can reload a save if you get a bad draw, and the shipwreck loot will be different because it's determined on when you open the container. So let's see if we can find ourselves another wreck. There should be a sunken plane somewhere out in this direction, I think. And that plane had a couple of crates in it from my practice run. If we're lucky, those crates will still be there. I just gotta find it first. Let's see, that's a bunch of rocks. Gotta be careful about these rocks because you can get beached on them. Ah, there's the plane. Okay. Always look around before diving in wrecks. Especially a deep one like this, because we're getting near the edge of the shallows. We're fairly close to the continental shelf. Is that a... Okay, that's the tail of the plane. How am I doing on SPF? SPF's not bad. I'm going to eat a ration. There we go. So what this will do is, now that I have health regen, in case something bad does happen, I can at least kind of heal. So now we're going to go into swimming. Swimming, you can sprint swim, as you can see by the stamina gauge, which is the yellow one. The blue gauge is your air meter. You don't want that to run out, otherwise you'll start drowning. Swimming is fairly self-explanatory. You're just freely moving in a 3D underwater space. It's generally determined by where you're looking. So if you want to swim to the surface, you want to look up. You can press the jump button to make a forced ascension. Kind of a funny thing that happens when you do that is your character will sort of jump like in the water, make a jump animation, and rise when you do that, but you can make quick ascensions that way. And swimming is one of the ways of increasing your physical skill. And what the physical skill does is it increases your sprint stamina and your oxygen capacity while underwater. We haven't gained a level there yet. Yeah, it's going to be a while before we do that, but... Okay. So now that we have a crate, we have two, technically, but now that we have a crate, we can open up our inventory, specifically by storing away all of the produce that we're carrying. I think the potatoes have gone bad, and I can guarantee you these two fruits are not far behind. So let's see what's actually in these crates. Might be something good. You never know. Actually, how's my SPF? Not too bad, but it's getting there. So you have... Ooh, we have some really good stuff here. An air tank, that's going to be really nice. A torch, that's worth hanging on to. And a vehicle filter part, which is unfortunately for me a useless item. Let's see, we have another label maker, we have some leather, another vehicle filter part, some rations. Ooh, all very nice stuff. So potatoes and the two fruits can go in there. While they are inside a container, they will not rot away, so I do want to keep those. And while I'm on the subject of stuff I want to keep for farming, let's grab the yucca fruits off of these trees. These won't disappear if you don't pick them, because they're not food, they won't rot, but still, might as well go ahead and grab them and stick them in with the other farming stuff. Yeah, see, now we have a whole bunch of farming stuff, and I can actually use this label maker over here, and I can label this container. So this will be, let's see, farming seeds, I guess. And you can see the box is actually labeled in the world, farming seeds. Now, okay, so I can take these out. Those rations will be useful. Put the air tank in there, because I don't need that right away. Having the leather early is actually really nice. I think I'll keep that separate. And then the flare gun can stay in there, because the flare gun will be useful for other stuff. And the leather can go here for now. Whereas the rations can go back inside the raft. So now that I've got my inventory more or less sorted, and I've got weapons to defend myself with, now would probably be a good time to go island hopping. Oh crap, I need to go inside that shipping container quickly before I start getting heat stroke. I can also swim in the shallows. If I get completely submerged, underwater has no has no UV. Ooh, okay. Yeah, you can see by the state of our arm, we nearly got cooked. We are red. So yeah, we're gonna have to be sitting in here for a bit. Ugh. But that's actually another thing. If you look at the state of your arm, you can actually kind of gauge how your health is looking, as far as like status effects go and stuff like that, by looking at your arm. If your arm looks normal, nothing's wrong, nothing's happening to you. You can see because of our low SPF, our arm's really red, so that's kind of a indicator that we're about to get heat stroke. If you're suffering from any of the game's 3 major status effects, your arm will reflect whatever's happening to you. As far as we're concerned, the only status effect that we can cure at the moment because of that bandage in our raft is bleeding, which bleeding only happens... Personally, I've only had bleeding happen when being... Oh, no. It happens randomly whenever you get bit by a shark. There's multiple different species of shark, and some can inflict more than just bleed. But a bandage will restore a little bit of health and remove the bleeding, assuming you are bleeding. You cannot just restore health on a whim with a bandage if you're not bleeding. Okay. SPF's recovered enough. It's late enough in the day. Speaking of status effects, I want to talk about this thing here. Do not step on this. This is a crown of thorns starfish. This is one of many venomous creatures here in Pacifica. If you step on that, you will get poisoned. Now, fortunately, poison is mostly relegated to... It's relegated to, like, natural creatures, of course, but the game treats them more as obstacles than enemies you have to kill. Like, if I tried attacking that crown of thorns starfish, it wouldn't do anything, because it's not counted by the game as a creature. It's counted as an obstacle. Most of the stuff that is venomous you find out in the ocean. Like, while we were exploring that plane, for example, we could have potentially seen... I think we actually did see a sea crate, little black and white eel-looking thing. We saw one of those swimming around. Get too close to the coral, you might run into a sea urchin. And there's wild lionfish just kind of swimming around. You bump into any of those, you get poisoned. And poison can only be cured by a specific type of medicine, which you need... I saw some earlier. I know this island has it. Poison can only be cured by making a specific medicine made from... Where are you? You are around here somewhere. Here we are. A PP plant, or a Pippi plant. I'm probably going to call it Pippi. Yeah, I'm just going to call it Pippi. So these Pippi plants can be used to make an antidote to cure your poison. We have a Juga plant here. A Juga is used to make another kind of medicine. That is used to, I believe, double your oxygen capacity for a short time. Now, for the most part, venomous creatures do not have a use. The lionfish is the only exception, because it's the only one that you can... Well, one of the two that you can kill. Yeah, it's going to get kind of late, and while I could sleep through the night, this actually gives me a good chance to get some work done. So I want to swap the torch for the flare gun, and let's start cutting down these trees. There's more space for our camp here. So the basic game plan for now is just... For the rest of the day and throughout the night, we're going to make this place more homely. Kind of clear out the trees and such. And then in the morning, we're going to go island hopping. We're primarily interested in cloth and rocks are the main thing we're interested in. We also want fibrous leaves as well. The yucca plants and the palm saplings will respawn, I believe it's every 2 in-game days. Might be 3. 2 or 3 in-game days, something like that. But we don't want to be waiting around here for that stuff to come back, because we don't have the resources to sort of keep up with the respawn rate, if that makes sense. So, for now, we want to... I saw a palm sapling. But for now, we want to mainly stick with... We'll have to island hop in order to get the fibrous leaves we need. And the main use for fibrous leaves, aside from lashings, is I used palm fronds for it before, but you can also use fibrous leaves to fill water stills, which will be the primary use for them. And eventually, when we get the ability to farm, we can more or less make water farms by constantly planting... Like, you can plant yucca plants, like the ones that we have on the island that we got those yucca fruits from. You can plant those, and you'll get even more fibrous leaves from cutting those down, and more or less have an infinite water source. But that requires stuff that we don't have access to at the moment, so unfortunately our survival kind of depends on island hopping, and that means putting ourselves in danger. Get rid of this big old tree. Where's that coconut fallen? There it is. 58%, not bad. And this axe is going to be getting hit pretty hard. So I imagine there's probably going to be some people commenting that during the night it's really dark and they can't see. You can't see, I can barely see. As I mentioned earlier, it does get really dark in this game. Thankfully, we still have some moonlight, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But when it starts getting really dark, that's why I have the flare gun. Because the flare gun will provide just enough light. I mean, it's very bright light. You'll know it's there. But it'll provide enough light for us to see in a given area. Now, that dropped a coconut. Yeah, well... So, let me empty out my bag real quick. Let's get another log. Moonlight's still doing pretty good for this, so... Now, the logs, you can actually break them if you want more sticks, because one of these logs will convert into 4 sticks when broken. I want to keep them logs for now, because they're more useful to me as logs than they are as sticks. I've got plenty of sticks for now. So, for the sake of demonstration, actually, nah, let's wait on that a bit, because this tree's still in full moonlight, more or less. I do, however, want to go over some tricks that you can do once I get to the trees over there. You may have noticed I've been jumping up and grabbing coconuts off the tree, or cutting the tree down and letting the coconut just fall off of it. Something else you can do is if you have a projectile and you have good enough aim, you can actually shoot a coconut off of a tree. One of these spears that I have will do the trick. I will probably show that off if I get the chance. I'm just going to want to be careful with it because I don't want to risk losing one of my spears. Because while sticks are definitely an abundant resource, they are by no means limitless. So I don't want to needlessly waste them. Oh yeah, the moon's shining down really bright tonight, so I don't think I'm actually going to need the flare gun. But, let's see. Oh, that's a bat. I don't need to worry about a bat. Though, sorry, Mr. Bat, I'm going to have to get rid of your perch. Actually, you know what? He's minding his own business. I'll leave him alone. I'll cut down the tree when he's not using it. Let's see. Coconut. Just decapitated and slumped. I'm sure I'd slump too if I got decapitated. Let's see. Pick all these up. Okay. Might be time to break up some of these palm bunches. Okay, the bat moved on. He left, so I can take care of this then. Here, come with me, palm tree. You gotta admit, our dude must be pretty strong if he can carry a fully grown palm tree. Yeah, getting a bit low. But I think, because we have leather, I think we can actually make do with that. Let's see. Can I do that yet? Let's see. I actually can. So when this axe gets low, I can make another stone tool, and combined with the leather, I can make a refined axe, which is the ultimate harvesting tool for most things. Okay. Right. So here would actually probably be a good spot. So drop this. Excuse me. Where's my axe? There it is. 4 hits for one of these. Not bad. Inventory is full, that's fine. Go over here then. Actually, how is my water still doing? Ah, good. So I can go ahead and add these in here. The water still's full, so if we need to, we can drink from it, which actually may not be a bad idea. Just because we can save our rations for when we're kind of like out and about. Okay. Let's get rid of these. Just making sure. Yeah, everything looks fine. Okay, so that thing's full up. What I may want to do, actually... Let's do this. We'll make a second palm frond pile and put it next to the... water still. Let's do that. Because the primary thing I'm going to be using these for is the water still. So let's draw this over here. Thankfully, you don't need to actually destroy piles in order to move them around. There we go. Okay. Moon's high in the sky. We've still got plenty of time. We are down about 4 bars of water. I think I'll cut down a tree and then I'll go drink. Let's see, I'll take that coconut. I could also use a coconut to help with my water problem. Which I might do in the morning, because I will need to eat something, and of course coconuts are food. Now, something you do want to be careful about if you're eating coconuts, both in the real world and in-game. Coconuts are very high in fiber and are a natural laxative, so if you eat too many of them, you'll give yourself the runs, and that's a good way to get dehydrated. This is reflected in-game by the diarrhea status ailment, which will occur if you attempt to eat more than 1 coconut. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate what I was talking about earlier by being able to shoot coconuts off of trees. So you see that coconut right there? Using our spear, we knock it off. Now, you do want to be careful doing that, because if you miss, you can very easily lose your spear. So I'm not going to do that too often, but, you know, if I feel the need to, I will do so. Especially on, like, really tall palm trees where there's a risk of me falling off and, like, breaking my arm or something. Let's get up here. Drag this thing over this way. Come on, you. So 76. I think I've got a grand total of like 25 hits on this, I think. More or less. Another small tree over here. Okay, I've got 13 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 hits. I should have 5. Yep, 5 hits. 1, 2, 3. That says 0.6. 4. Okay. So if I hit anything else with this, it will break. So don't want to use that. It's going to be slow going for a bit because we have to go back to a stone tool, but what I can do, put this here for now. Stone tool. And as you can see, we are running low on rocks because of not only having to make stone tools, having to make the fire pit and the water still. Yeah. Grab that coconut. That bat's just chilling. I don't think I'll mess with that one. So, let's see. Let's make some room in our bag. Not really going to need the flare gun, so I'll just keep that there. Let's see. Got another wood log pile. There's still a bat in here? Nah, he flew off. That was 24 hits right there. Yeah. Huh. Another 12 for that. Yeesh. So you may notice I mentioned this earlier while we were talking about swimming. There is the yellow stamina gauge. That is specifically for sprinting. If you completely bottom that out, instead of yellow, it will turn red while it regenerates, and you can't sprint while it's red. So you really want to be careful when you're managing your stamina so you don't run out of energy in a really bad situation. %. Alright, that's harvesting leveled up again. Keep in mind, we have not left the first island. We have been here for 2 days, and our harvesting is already level 5. So, yeah, harvesting goes up quick. Mmm. Tasty water. Hold on. 14, I'm missing one. There it is. I thought I picked up a weird amount. Alright. 16%. I don't even think I can cut down a tree with this, but might as well make use of it while we have it. Okay, the moon's starting to sink, but we still got plenty of moonlight left, so... I think a bat's hanging out in here. Yeah, hi bat. You can stay there. I can't bring myself to disturb a sleeping bat. Okay, so 15%? Yeah, I got 15 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Just want to check. Yeah, 2%, 15. Alright, let's head back over to camp. And with this damaged stone tool, our damaged axe, and the leather, we can now craft a refined axe. The best standard harvesting tool. I believe this has 5 times the durability of a stone tool. I think it's good for about 500 hits. I could be wrong. But look at that. Ha! Breaks it down real good. Yeah, see, look at that. 99.5. I think it's 2.5% per hit. So, let's see. 2.5%. No, it's not 500 hits. It's 400. But still, really powerful. Does a lot of damage, as you can see. 3 hits to separate a palm from the actual tree itself. Okay, this tree is going to look a little lonely standing here by itself. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hits from a refined axe to down a palm tree, whereas with a stone tool that took 24. So, yeah, very, very nice tool to have. Oh, that only took 3 hits. Nice. Alright. We don't have a whole lot of palm trees left. Take care of these. Now, it used to be in older versions of Stranded Deep. You may have noticed how we were only generally getting 1 coconut per tree. It used to be in the older versions of Stranded Deep. The diarrhea effect wasn't a thing. You could literally just live off of coconuts if you wanted to. But in earlier versions, palm trees had so many coconuts on them. Like, I think the lowest amount you could find in older versions was 3. So you would get a ton of coconuts. And like I mentioned, you could just live off of them if you felt so inclined. Which, granted, hunting for food was a lot trickier in older versions, so there's a bit of a trade-off there. Okay, so the moon is setting, despite the fact that that's not how that works. But, coconut. Now, something funny is going to happen with the physics when I cut down this tree. You'll notice this thing is, technically speaking, by the game's code, stuck in a rock. Okay, it didn't, like, completely freak out, but whenever something's stuck inside terrain like that and you mess with it, whatever happens to it once you hit it enough, usually the physics will go wild and it'll usually rocket into the air. Not always, but usually. Coconut. It is now daytime. However, it's still too early in the day for me to go really do anything because the water's too dark. Let's see. Let's make another wood log pile. Now, this is getting a bit long, so I may not be able to make many more past this. There we go. Thankfully, we're almost done here. We only have 3 more palm trees to cut down. So, I don't mind. Well, there's 4. There's that one over there. I forgot. I skipped this one because there was a bat sleeping on it. Let's see. Yep, no bat here, so this one might rock it out. Let's see. Not quite. I've seen them literally shoot up into the atmosphere. It was hilarious. Alright. I wonder if I'm hitting those palm bunches too much. Look at it. Yep, there we go. Over here. Nope, it's 3 hits. Okay. So yeah, we're doing really good with this axe. Takes forever to break. Really powerful. Right. It's kind of getting to the point in the day now where I should be able to go out into the water pretty soon. So let's take care of these palm bunches. And then we can take care of other stuff. 3 hits, not bad. Bag's full, that's fine with me. Oh wow, even that's full up. Okay. Let me fill this up. It's not a bot. That is indeed a bot. You get out of here. Bam. There we go. 50, 50. Okay, so we're doing good on water sources. How are we doing on stats? I want to eat a coconut. So coconuts don't do a whole lot for your stats, but what you can do, hit it to get the skin off, or dehusk it, I suppose. Make it a drinkable coconut. Now what you can do is once you've drank it, it's had its 1 serving, you can hit it again to break it, or you can use gravity. If you right-click to lift it up, and then slam it down while, if you, something you can do is, when you, I believe it's, yeah, when you left click while holding something like that, you'll throw it. So what you want to do is on the downswing, you want to throw it to where it hits the ground. There we go. And now you have coconut halves. Now these will recover about half a bar, yeah. About half a bar of hunger. You don't want to eat too many of those because they will give you diarrhea if you're not careful. All right, so I'm going to grab my flare gun because I might be there at night. Now, where's my raft at? I want to figure out... Actually, well, I've just saved, so let's quit real quick to get rid of these stumps. Alright. Alright, that's the stumps cleared out. Alright, so... Yeah, I need to grab the flare gun again. Whoops. Yeah, sure, grab the flare gun. Might need it. So I believe I parked over here somewhere. Let's see, where did I park? Yeah, there it is. So, we want to pick an island to go to. We don't want to go to the ship, because there's not a whole lot of stuff over there. Like, I think at most there's maybe some fibrous leaves. Let's see, we don't want to go to any of these islands. You can see they have those big mountains in the middle of them. Those are larger-sized islands, which means they have more threats on them. We want to go to a smaller island, like that one right there, that one right there. Let's see. From what I can see, there are currently 2 islands that would be safe to explore. No, there's a third one. Tell you what. Let's go to the island that's right across from our camp. So this is what we'll be doing today. We're going to be exploring a new island. Now, we're not going to be exploring too much. We're mainly going to be there for surface level resources. Like I said, mainly fibrous leaves and rocks. But there will be other things there that might be useful. So, let's go this way. Head back towards the camp, and if we're lucky, we might actually see one of our local sharks. So, we know there is at least a tiger shark around here, because that's the first shark we saw. When we first spawned in, there was a tiger shark. There are 4 species of aggressive shark in the game. I don't agree specifically with the species choices about roughly half the time, but there are 4 distinct species you want to watch out for. We saw a tiger shark already. Tiger sharks are known man-eaters. They are known as the goats of the sea. They will quite literally eat anything. So that makes sense. A tiger shark would be an aggressive species. The other shallow water shark species, because there's 2 species per depth. There's the shallow sharks and the deep sharks. Tiger sharks are a shallow shark. The other kind of shallow shark, which I don't agree with, is a hammerhead. Hammerheads generally don't attack people, and even if they do, their mouths aren't big enough to do serious damage. So, yeah, don't really agree with that. Out in the open ocean, you can find great whites, which, of course, they're a pelagic species, so that makes sense. And the one I don't agree with is you can occasionally find goblin sharks that want to attack you out in the depths. My biggest thing with the goblin sharks is goblin sharks live at such extreme depths that not only would they never encounter a human, if they ever came to the surface to attack anybody, the pressure difference between their native environment and where they're ascending to would cause them to explode. Pressure is no joke. Okay, so let's start a basic navigation lesson. So what I want to do is I want to get the compass out and I want to look at the heading. So this is to the northeast of us, roughly 40 degrees. So keep that in mind. So this will be our first time actually island hopping, so we will more than likely see some kind of sea creature. And again, pay attention to the music or lack thereof. Right now, it's kind of quiet, because the tracks don't loop very well. But if the music suddenly changes, you'll know something's up. Okay, I hear swimming noises. That means there's something large nearby. Unfortunately, while you're paddling the raft like this, your camera angle is more or less fixed, so I can't look behind me to see what that was. But I don't hear it anymore, so whatever it is, we lost it. So I'm guessing it was a shallow shark that we encountered. Okay. We're good. Okay, so something you guys might see right ahead of me. It might be kind of hard to see, especially after YouTube compresses this down. but you may notice there's what looks like foaming bubbles on the surface of the water. Whenever you see those, that means there's a shipwreck down below the surface. So we've got 2 shipwrecks right next to each other. That's actually really nice. That means this area will be really good for loot when we eventually come back here to loot the place. Looks like we got a lot of shipwrecks around here, too. Like, there's a derelict right there. There's the 2 of those. Is that a cargo barge? Or did I just get lucky and find another... Okay, there's a hammerhead right there. Did I just get lucky and find another shipping container? Or was that a cargo barge? I think I just got lucky and found another shipping container. Okay, so... okay. I see a hostel. So, you might not be able to see it, but it's right there in front of me. That is a giant crab. I want to find a stick, if I can. Okay, there's a stick right here. And with this, I want to make a crude fishing spear. Now, the difference between the crude fishing spear and the regular crude spear is both spears, when you stab with them, will do, I think it's 10 damage. So, the main difference between the 2 is when it comes to throwing. So this is a giant crab. The way to deal with these is you cannot throw your spears at them. They have those rock-hard shells. If you attempt to throw a spear at them, they will break your spears. So you have to melee them, which is why I have this crude fishing spear. There's no reason for me to damage my throwing spears with melee when they do the exact same melee damage that this thing does. Crude fishing spears, for the record, suck when you throw them. They do 10 damage, the exact same as a melee stab. So a crude fishing spear really is just better as a melee weapon than as a projectile. So the thing with these crabs is they will kind of harass you. They'll chase you down and try to pinch you. They don't do a whole lot of damage, but they're just really annoying. So they are definitely the weaker of the land threats. Alright, we got 2 hunting levels from killing those things. So hunting, what that does is hunting basically just increases your attack power. That's all it does. Makes your stuff do more damage. Now, I don't know if that applies to melee. I know it applies to projectiles. But I don't remember if that applies to melee or not. Alright, so we got these giant crabs, and the nice thing is we actually have this little spot right here. This will do really good for setting up a base because it's isolated from the rest of the island. And the giant crabs that live here can only reasonably come from one direction. So that's going to be really nice. And in case we need to, which we do, I'm going to go hang out inside that shipping container. Oh yeah! We got, this thing is Rex Central. Holy crap, there's a ton of Rex here. This is going to be really good for loot. Okay, so that's a wall. Where is the door? Here it is. There we go. Okay. Hang out in here, make sure our SPF doesn't take a big nosedive. I'll probably have to eat a ration soon, but that's okay. So the first thing I want to do now that I've cleared the land threats, is once my SPF goes back up, I'm going to want to set up a base here. Not a permanent one, more like the one that we have on our previous island. That's what I call a temporary base, which a temporary base is really all we can make at the moment. You can construct houses and stuff like that, but we don't have the means to do that right now. And I will eventually be building like a proper house and stuff like that. I just need a lot of materials, which I don't have. So for now, shelters will do. So the main thing we want to do is we want to set up a shelter. And eventually we'll also want to set up a smoker. But, let's see, what time is it? Once it hits about, I think once we get to about halfway, uh-oh. Okay, so that's concerning that we have a hammerhead this close to this thing. Because, there's a pretty decent amount of water right at the foot of this thing. With how aggressive the hammerheads are in this game, I'm pretty sure nothing would stop him from, like, when I try to get out, nothing's gonna stop him from just coming up and snapping at me, so... Oh, yeah, no, he's getting uncomfortably close. Oof, okay. Okay, so you hear how the music just suddenly stopped, and now we're hearing this very ominous drone. This music track is called Lurking in the Deep. And whenever you hear this, this specifically means a shark has aggroed onto you and is trying to attack you. So, yeah, that hammerhead wants to eat us. We don't want to get eaten, so we're going to head back onto the island. But as long as he's aggroed onto us, that music is going to play. So that's kind of what you want to be mindful of when you're going from island to island. Right, so we got a couple of giant crabs here. We can actually make these into fillets, I think. But for now, we want to make a shelter. So let's see. I need to chop down a tree to make a shelter. I also need rocks and such. Let's see. But yeah, the sharks in the water are the main reason I made the fishing spears. You can melee a shark. It's not advisable, but you can do it. I generally find myself throwing stuff at them, and if I do need to melee them, I try to play chicken, which is not particularly easy to do when you're fighting something that's faster than you. But, like I said, you can do it. Rock. Another rock. But yeah, the reason I wanted to go to one of these small islands first is, at worst, the small islands are populated by those crabs. Which, you know, as long as you have a crude fishing spear to stab them in the butt, you know, they're not really that huge of a deal to deal with. As far as actually dealing with them goes, as you saw what I did, is get behind them and more or less just stab them constantly. They do have a flinch animation when you hit them. You want to hit them between flinch animations. If you hit them during it, that flinch animation kind of gives them like a little bit of super armor, in a way. So if you hit them during it, excuse me, if you hit them during it, they'll still take damage, but they can recover during that animation if you attack them during it, at which point they can do a 180 and pinch you. And one thing about those guys, and most of the terrestrial threats, is once they actually start damaging you, and they get on your ass, they are incredibly hard to shake off. So you definitely don't want to have a crab be pinching you in the butt constantly. Oh, good! We got a cloth. That's really nice. I'm going to want one of those. And a container. No, okay. So that actually has a crude fishing spear in it. That would have been nice to know earlier, but I didn't know at the time, so... Rocks. Yeah, you will usually find a minimum of about 12 rocks on any given island. Just kind of sitting around, so... We got 12. That's a pretty good haul. Now, it is getting on towards nighttime, and I don't want to be out on the water at night. Primarily, again, because of the sharks. Now, something nice that the game does do as a nice bit of attention to detail is most predatory animals in the sea are primarily nocturnal. So they become more active at night, which means we are more likely to get attacked by a shark if we go out when it's dark out. Ooh, we have 14 rocks. Nice. I'm cool with this. Okay. I want to go ahead and make myself a rock pile. I think a ration would do. We can grab that crate over there. Oh, something I forgot to mention about swimming. I should have brought this up before. You may have noticed that when I was swimming in the ocean trying to go towards that sunken plane, I didn't have any items in my hand when I was doing that. You can hold tools and such underwater while you're swimming, but doing so will slow you down. If you don't have anything in your hands, you actually do swim a bit faster. So, worth noting in case you need to try and get away. Okay. So, what's in the box? What do we got? Got a ration, got another torch, a compass, and another crude fishing spear. Okay, so all of those are useful. Go ahead and eat that now. So I want to cut down the smallest tree I can find. and use the palm leaves to make a shelter. This one will do. There's a coconut on here too. I can use that to, what is it? I can use that to, what am I trying to think of? I can use that to, top up my water. Oh, I picked up a stick. That's fine. Alright, so one thing I also want to do while I'm here is, now that I've set foot on this island, I want to try and look around for any sort of plants that might be here. Like this. This is a koala fruit. Okay. I can eat that instead of the coconut, so that'll work out. So, let's use the flare gun, because it's kind of dark here. And you can see it's showering the entire area in a big red glow. That's going to make it really easy to kind of see stuff. Let's see, I'll stick that in there for now. We got a stick. Okay. So now I need a lashing, so... Really? Let's go ahead and eat that. Okay. Excuse me. Typically, the koala fruits give water, so that's helpful. And good! None of the yucca trees spawned inside of a rock. They have an annoying tendency of doing that. But yeah, one of the nice things about the flare gun is, as you can see, it's a hands-free light source. I don't have to hold on to it after the initial shot. Oh, hello, rock. You were hidden under a plank. So we actually found the maximum amount of rocks you can find on this island. That's very good. Finding 15 rocks is very, very nice. Okay, so... first thing I want to do... I want to make a lashing, if I can. Palm frond pile. Leave the box. Palm fronds. Yeah, let's put that. Fibrous leaf pile. Let's put that over here. Okay. So I want a lashing. I believe I need 3 palm fronds. I think. I might need 4. Let's see. Do I need 4? Yeah, I need 4. Okay, so I need 3 sticks. Which is easy enough to do. I already have one over there, so... let's see. 1. There should be another stick around here somewhere. This'll do. And with this stick, we can now make ourselves a shelter, which gets into part 2 of navigation. Remember the directions we used when we came here initially? We followed, I believe it was 40 degrees to get here. So, what you want to do, let's see. We followed 40 degrees to get here, roughly, so we wanted to add 180 to that, so that is 220. So, looking at the direction of 220, or you can just look over there, that also is an option. You can just kind of barely see that shipping container we've been hanging out in. You can use that as a landmark. But basically what I want to do is look directly at this, and then build a shelter. Specifically, I want the tapered point of the shelter, like the actual sharp end, I want that pointing where I came from. So in the event I ever get lost, if I somehow find my way back here and I see my shelter, I can look at that and go, hey! It's pointing that way. That way goes home. So let's do that. Boom. So now we have our shelter pointing back where we came from. And we can use this little hilly area to kind of more or less set ourselves up. So let's see. I have a log, but I can't do anything with it. Let's see. that away for now. Okay. So we have a box that still has some space. Yeah, we can put some stuff in there. I might want to chop down another tree. Not only to get another coconut, well, actually, primarily to get another log, but getting another coconut from that would also help. Stick. This'll do. Now, I don't remember the respawn time of the giant crabs. I want to say it's like every 3 in-game days, or maybe it's an in-game week that they stay dead. I know if you kill a shark, they stay gone for a while. Like, they stay gone for an in-game month. It's something like 8 hours of real time or something. So if you kill a shark, you don't have to worry about them for a long time. Log pile. Now, can I put this here? I can. So something I might be able to do is I actually might be able to make like a little barricade or something to keep the to kind of keep the crabs away from here using the logs. I think that'd be a pretty smart thing to do. But granted, we have little enough space as it is. So let's put the log pile right there for now. Okay, so we have a stick pile as well. Put the stick pile right there. I have another coconut. Let's make a coconut pile. Stick the coconut pile. Probably right there. Okay. And the palm bunch. Okay. So, I want to go grab some things. Let's go look for sticks and palm saplings. Yeah, the darkest part of the night's over, so I think we'll be fine to kind of just look around. Actually, while I'm doing that, let me go over here real quick. Put those in there. Don't need the flare gun either. Then I can drop that. This island's not looking too bad, but I definitely prefer using the starting island for a base. For 2 main reasons. If you actually look at the in-game cartographer, which you can access from the main menu, you'll notice that your starting island is almost always in the center of the map. So, you're in a nice central location. If you have good RNG with the map generation, you can have a really good island like what we have. And the lack of terrestrial hostiles is a really big factor as to why I like the starting island. Because there are no crabs to worry about, no other sort of nasties that live on the land that we have to worry about respawning on our turf. So, just looking around. Technically speaking, what I could do, if I felt so inclined, is I could actually take the torch out of that box and use the torch, because that would help me locate stuff on the land. But I have a feeling we'll be coming back here pretty frequently, at least for a bit, so I think we'll be fine just doing this for now. Like I said, we are primarily interested in the fibrous leaves and the rocks, because that will allow us to make some better stuff back home. And again, we primarily want to focus, of course, on a water solution, preferably a long-term one. My primary goal as of right now is I want to make 5 water stills. So we need to find the available resources to do that. Can I actually make a loom? I actually can. If I had the resources available, which I should do after finishing my business here, I can actually make a loom when I get home. And with a loom, I can just more or less mass produce cloth, which means I can make all sorts of nice things. Don't need to worry about the Juga plant. I saw you sticking out there. Okay. So there's usually an even number of palm saplings. So we missed one somewhere. Knowing my luck, it probably spawned inside one of the bushes, because the game does that, but it may just be sitting around somewhere for all I know. I mean, either way, might as well look for it, because it's not like I'm going to be going back home in the dark. That's just asking for trouble. I could actually do a few other things while I'm here, too. I could probably set up a better base. So, what I want to do... Yeah. Let's do that, because we're probably going to be here a while. Well, not necessarily be here a while, but, you know, we're going to be coming back here, so we might as well make ourselves comfortable. So, here on our little islet, let's make good on the sticks we've got here. Okay, so I can make some basic stuff with that. Okay. Also, something I'm going to be doing, as I may have mentioned this during the Delver streams, I think. Or maybe I mentioned it during the last Lemon Cake stream, I don't remember. One of those two. I'm going to be attempting, because of the whole thing with the Four Stooges playing that we've got going on Saturdays now, I'm going to attempt all future Let's Play videos, this one included, to be about 3 hours long to compensate for missing a Let's Play day because of the Four Stooges. So, we still have about an hour, so yeah, we still have plenty of time. Alright, so what I want to do, I want to make a lashing. I want to make a stone tool. And let's see, I need a fire. I want to stick this. This is going to be in a bit of an awkward spot, but I want to put this like right here. I think that'd be good. Fire pit. And then we need a cloth, which is in here. Another lashing. And then this I can make a smoker. Here we go. I usually like that, having that facing the opposite of my shelter, but we have very limited space to work with, so, you know, do what you can. So now we need some kindling. I always like having kindling and a knife on any given island that I make one of these little mini bases at, just so I don't have to carry one around with me. So, yeah, there we go. Just need a knife now, and with the stone tool we can do that. So, next on the list, let's break these ficus trees. Get some more sticks. I believe that is 8 hits per ficus tree now. Yeah. Our harvest skills is definitely getting up there. Now, there is a bit of a niche use for the flare gun that I think I'd like to bring up. I personally don't do it because I think that's a really stupid thing to do. But if you decide you want to go night hunting, specifically fighting sharks at night, the flare gun is good for that because, as I mentioned, it's a hands-free light source. Once you fire it, the light sticks around in a given area for a while. And the way the sharks operate is they tend to, once they aggro on you, they tend to pinpoint your location and tend to circle around it. So if you get into an open enough area out on the sea and you know there's a shark after you, you can point the flare straight up, shoot it up in the sky, and there's the missing palm sapling. It was hiding under a ficus tree. That is fine. We can escort this thing back to the camp. But if you get a shark out on the water at night and you want to fight it, the huge radius and lifespan of the flare gun shot will actually let you semi-reliably fight a shark at night. Like I said, I would not recommend doing it. I'm not going to do it because I'm not going out into the ocean at night because that's just asking for trouble. But it is something you can do if you are so inclined. Hello, stick. Ficus tree, ficus tree. What of you? Only 50%, and we're still not done. Oof. It's probably going to eventually get to the point where our harvesting skill just gets so high that we can probably completely deforest a island like this of the ficus trees with a single stone tool and not have it break. %. Alright. We're there, actually. 14%, yeah, we're good. Yep, my inventory is full. Good thing we've got plenty of sticks. I apologize if you hear any meowing in the background. That's my boyfriend's cat, Garrus. My mother has just come home, and she is his favorite couch. So he's wanting a human to sit on. Okay. So now that this stone tool is about to break, we could turn this into a knife, and we'll have our own little kitchen set up over here on this small little islet that really doesn't have anything going for it. Now, in reality, this area here would be a terrible place to set up because you're out in the open, more or less, surrounded by water on almost all sides. You have no shelter from storms. And, like, if all you would really need here to get everything destroyed is just one bad wave hitting this spot particularly hard, and all of this would get washed out to sea. But thankfully, things like that don't really happen in Stranded Deep. So let's make a knife. So now we can cook. Let's actually show how cooking works. So now that we have a knife, we have these giant crabs here. If you have a knife, you can skin animals that you've killed. I believe these giant crabs give medium crab meat, and you can get 2 before their bodies disappear. Yeah, medium crab meat. So, go ahead and skin these. Now, naturally, you don't want to eat any meat raw. That's a really bad idea. And this meat will spoil and rot if we don't do something with it quickly. So what we want to do is, you can attach it to a fire, and you'll kind of put it on a stick like that to let it cook. We don't want to do that. We want to attach it to the smoker. Now, the smoker can hold up to 5 pieces of meat. And then with a piece of kindling, you want to alternate left and right click. Oh, you can't see it when I'm crouching. You want to do that to do this sort of like friction burn fire method. And that starts the flames. Now you'll hear a sizzling noise. If you look at our cooking skill, as we are standing in proximity to the food as it's cooking, it'll raise our cooking skill. I gotta say, if there's any skill in the game that I feel is redundant and can probably be safely removed with no consequences, it would be cooking. Because food's already a sort of lesser need in this game compared to water. But cooking just makes food stupid. Like, you will easily get a surplus of food just over the course of the game by defending yourself. So, even if cooking was not a thing, your caloric needs would be taken care of. Specifically, what cooking does is, when cooking levels up, it increases the calorie output of food. Like I mentioned earlier, that rations are probably the best food item in the game because they recover 3.5 points of both food and water. What makes that so good is the water, not necessarily the food. But because of cooking the skill, increasing the calorie value of food, if I'm not mistaken, at a maxed out cooking level, a ration can restore, I think, if not all of the bars, then 6 of them, which is pretty impressive. Granted, by the time you would have reached that point, you would have had to have drank so much water that you may as well have just topped up on your own anyway. So, yeah, like I said, the cooking skill's redundant, but it's there. Now, something to note is the smoker is designed to smoke the meat. And what smoking meat does is it preserves it and stops it from rotting. That's not how smoking works in real life, but, video game concessions. However, mechanically, the smoker has to cook the food first before it can smoke it. You can't just get raw meat and have it get smoked. It has to become cooked meat first, and then it becomes smoked meat. So, specifically when you are cooking food, from raw to cooked, is when you get cooking experience. I do not believe you get experience for food smoking. So, as long as you're standing near it while you're hearing that sizzling, you will get cooking experience. Now, I am going to give you a bit of an auditory warning. You will hear a loud dinging sound. You will hear a loud dinging sound when the food is done cooking. And then when it's smoking, you will hear what sounds like an egg timer go off whenever it is finished smoking. Now, since we do have food here, I don't want to leave the island until the food's ready to go. There we go, got another cooking level. Okay, so you heard the ding. Now, I'm checking. I don't think we're getting cooking experience by standing here now because the food is already cooked. So, yeah, since it's already cooked, it's just smoking. We're not getting any cooking experience for this now. So, we can leave that to its own thing and continue about our business. So, to kind of kill time while we're waiting for that to cook, or to smoke rather, let's clear out the rest of the ficuses around here. Just get a nice supply of sticks for when we eventually need to come back. Okay, I think that's all the ficus trees on this island dealt with. Oh, no, there's this big one here. Isolation from your fellows will not save you from the chopping. Alright. They survived 3, not bad. Now, generally, I think it takes longer for food to smoke than it does to cook. I could be wrong about that, but I seem to remember that being how it worked. Okay, so we have exactly 50 sticks in that pile. That's good. How are we doing on water? So we might have to leave just to get water. Although we do have a ration for that. And we did get a spare, so... yeah. We've been getting very lucky with the rations appearing in these boxes. So let's see what else we got around here. Honestly, besides the palm trees, not a whole lot. So, I'm not feeling particularly tree choppy right now, so let's just collect coconuts. Gives us something to do while we're waiting for the food to smoke. Oh yeah, I feel really dumb now. I forgot to mention, to interact with stuff, you press E as a default when I was explaining the basic controls. Okay, so this looks like a good opportunity. That's really high up there. Well, I suppose this is as good an opportunity as any to explain how climbing a tree works. If you press and hold the jump button while next to a tree, you'll grab onto it. Now, you want to be really careful when you're climbing a tree. You press W to go up and you press S to go down. If you climb too high, your character might fall off, and that means trouble. Okay, I got the coconuts, so let's get down before we fall off and hurt ourselves. Fall damage will just hurt you. You'll take damage based on the distance you fall. And if you fall from a sufficient distance, you will actually break a bone. And bone breaking is... I guess I can go over status effects. Bone breaking is annoying because it reduces your movement speed, and it also causes you to take damage every time you jump. To cure a broken bone, you need to craft a splint, which... can we even do that? Let's see. Yeah, we can. It's expensive at the moment because we can't... well, we can make lashings willy-nilly, technically, but we don't want to be breaking our bones if we can help it. I mentioned bleed earlier. What happens when you get hit by a shark? Bleed is just a damage over time. You slowly lose HP if you don't treat it. Now, a mechanic that was in... oh, okay, so this tree is at an angle. Do you kind of see how we're not technically on the tree? We're kind of like floating off of it. We're kind of getting separated from the tree's collision, and that means we're going to fall if we try climbing that. So let's not mess with that tree. But for bleed, in earlier versions of the game, bleed was actually dangerous. Not only for the damage over time, but as a sort of nice touch. A nice little attention to detail. If you were bleeding and went swimming, sharks would attack you more often, because that's how sharks detect wounded prey. Above all else, sharks are opportunists. They will attack anything that they can perceive as weak, and generally speaking, anything that's bleeding to death is definitely in a weakened state. Okay, so this looks like it's almost done. Okay. So it didn't give me the alert that it got smoked, but that's fine. Alright, coconuts. Just gonna stack these up. And now I want to take stuff home. The big thing is I need fibrous leaves. And I need rocks. I'll take this container with me, and that... ooh, okay. I cannot take that. That is unfortunate that I can't take that because I kind of need it. That's got the cloth inside. Tell you what. Let's do that. And then I can take this. My SPF's... Okay, we got a hammerhead right there. I'm gonna save. Yeah, okay. He might follow us, but we don't really have a choice. I just hope he doesn't knock us off. I mean, I can fight him and kill him if I need to. If nothing else in this game, I am good at killing sharks. But he's not our concern right now. Our concern is getting home. So as far as, like, temperament goes, I've noticed that tiger sharks are actually the most docile. They take the longest to aggro onto you. Like, you hear, that hammerhead had me in his sights for maybe 5 seconds before he decided he wanted to murder me. Tiger sharks can do that too, but I've noticed in general, provided you don't attack them, tiger sharks will usually take anywhere from like 15 to 20 seconds to decide that you're a good meal. So, yeah, I've noticed that hammerheads tend to be more aggressive. Goblin sharks are surprisingly aggressive, but usually that's because the deep water sharks, the pelagic ones, you don't tend to see them close to the surface. They usually stay deep below, like in the darker area, which, by the way, thalassophobia warning, dark, deep water. Way down there is usually where the deep water sharks tend to live, and they come to the surface to attack you specifically, so you generally don't see them unless they're already trying to kill you. So, based on that, they are also pretty aggressive. Now, there is actually some docile creatures that you can run into out in the deep water. There's docile creatures in the shallows too, of course, but like we may have seen a couple when I was going into that plane wreck. There was a couple of black-tip reef sharks, I think. I think in the console versions of Stranded Deep, you can kill those for food, but in the PC version, you can't. They used to be attackable in previous PC versions, but not anymore. All right, home sweet home, and would you look at that? Our yucca's regrown, which if the yucca's regrown, that means the fibrous leaves should be regrowing soon. And look at that, they kind of already have. Okay, we got back just in time. So, mine the crown of thorns starfish. Hold out in our little container for a bit. Yeah, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so we'll need to wait for our SPF to go back up. Yeah, unfortunately, this is the price to pay for paying attention to realism. There's going to be periods where you're just waiting. Oh, my throat. Just drank some water. Oh, yeah. Oh. Alright. I think we should be good once it gets to about 3.5 bars. That should be fine. Almost there. Alright, so that should be good enough. Sorry, I was just checking some messages. Alright. So this is really good. Our fibrous leaf plants have respawned. So very nice. We can do more base stuff here. Rock pile, expand! And we have another crate too, so yay. Okay, so we can put the torch in there. Put that there. Flare gun, compass. We need the cloth. So let's see. I think I'm missing a coconut flask. Water still. Okay. Put that there. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to make some more stations. Specifically, I want to make a loom. Now let's see. We need 4 lashings and 6 sticks. Not hard to do. Alright, now as for where the loom should go, honestly, probably somewhere back here, probably next to this rock. So, let's see. A loom. We can also make a tanning rack, which would be pretty nice, but we don't necessarily have need of a tanning rack right now. So, let's see. We'll put... Yeah, we'll put the loom next to this rock. I think this would be a good place to put it. Right there. Okay, so now we've got ourselves a loom, and the loom can turn fibrous leaves into cloth, which is going to be really nice. Now, what do I need for a tanning rack? 4 sticks and 4 lashing. Do I even have enough for that? Barely. Because it's 4 fibrous leaves to a lashing. Tanning rack. And with the tanning rack, we can set that right there. So now we can make leather if we so choose. We don't have any means of actually doing that because we don't have any materials to make leather with, but we can now make leather if we wanted to. Alright. So while I have light, let's get some more fibrous leaves. Alright, so that's the flare gun depleted. You only get 2 shots, but it helps see during the darkest parts of the night. So, combined with the torch... Heyo, Jaren, how you doing? Combined with the torch, we should be able to more easily find stuff. How did Faz go tonight, Jaren? Any deaths? You're doing good? I'm glad. Are you the glitched one? No. %. Yeah. We're still doing good. No deaths, though Kayla had a close call. Do tell! Was it a Raiju? A demon? Or was it something silly like a poltergeist? Okay. I think that's good for fibrous leaf hunting for the time being. Now, we'll get rid of this flare gun because it's useless to us now. But we'll get rid of that when we head back. Actually, blanking on which ghost exactly, it did have some silly involved, as might have been involving a bunny going gold. Ah, was there like the Faz Easter event or something? That's what that sounds like. Okay, so I don't have any cloth. What's the recipe for cloth? I want to say it's, yeah, 4 fibrous leaves. So, oh, well, there goes our flare, but that's fine. So, let's see. I'm going to need 12 fibrous leaves, I think. So we need 2 lashings. And then we're going to need 4 more to make the cloth. We will make a coconut flask. Make a cloth. There we go. So that we have a cloth with the rocks. 3 rocks. And some palm leaves. We can make another water still. So let's put that there. Right there. 3 out of 5. So we're doing pretty good. Oh, why are you being taken from? Get all that stuff taken care of. So that's a third water still. Gonna have to move these. The other side of the barricade, probably. Yep, the bunnies you find via shining dots will do one of three things when startled. Usually they will either run off, which gives you 5 sanity back, and slightly slows the ghost, jump at you and drain 10 sanity, and very rarely burst into gold flames and cause a hunt on the spot. Ooh! Fun! Phasmophobia loves their double-edged swords, don't they? Alright, let's see. I can probably make another. I think I have enough. Let's see, it's 12 per. I can make 2. Do I have the rocks? I do. Okay. Okay. So I need 2 coconut flasks. Well, we leveled up our craftsmanship again. Let's see. Very nice, level 4. I want to say level 5 or level 6 is the effective cap for craftsmanship, even though it can go up to level 7. Oh, I missed one. Let's see. I do have an extra fibrous leaf here. And with the palm fronds here... Oh, do I need the rocks. I need 6 rocks. Don't have the room. That's fine. So you, water still. And then put that right there. Water still. Alright, this should solve our water problem. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. So, I'm going to want to make more, but this will do for immediate survival problems. And honestly, there's nothing... Well, we do have stuff we can do. We can cut down those palm trees. Might as well make do with the time we've got, so... Though, once I chop these trees down, it might be time to start sleeping. Because now that we've got water stills, we can afford to sleep through the night. Sleeping through the night will damage your food and thirst gauges, though I think if your gauges are high enough, it will actually heal you. But it'll also pass time. And something that I really wish Minecraft would do, that Stranded Deep does, is that all timers accelerate when you sleep through the night, not just the day-night cycle. Let's see, I think there's a coconut up there. Yeah, I can see it. So when I chop this down... Yep, event's almost over, though. If you haven't yet, all it takes to get the community rewards is to log in during the event time. Personal rewards, on the other hand, takes a decent while to get. Honestly, I'm not too fussed about Faz. So, yeah. If I wasn't busy doing this, I probably would have joined you guys, but I appreciate the heads up regardless. Alright, so we got a really big one here. I do not have space, so let's make space. Those up. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Now, how am I doing on fibrous leaves? I don't think I have enough, do I? No, not enough for that, and it's going to take a while before that island stuff respawns. So, yeah. Okay, well, let's finish our business over here, and then I guess we can sleep, because we don't got anything else to do. I have a log. A single log. Alright. How we doing? This will hurt our thirst, but I think we'll be okay. Grab a coconut for breakfast in the morning. Let's save. And then sleep. Okay, I don't know exactly how much that did. Clearly not too much, because we didn't lose like a full water still's worth of stuff. Oh, did our stills glitch? Either our stills glitched or it rained overnight. Actually, wait. Yeah. Alright, well, that pushes us over the edge. At least for now. So, yeah, I'm going to have to wait quite a while, actually. I think barely any time must have passed. Yeah, we're more or less just going to have to wait at this point. It's too dark to go anywhere. But, yeah, that should take care of our needs, at least for now. So I think what I want to do next is, it'll be a bit of an endeavor, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe start shark hunting. Because now I'm going to need some more stones, and I'm going to need leather to make the next advancement in the tech tree. Which, let's see, how many stones do I have? I think that might be enough. Let me see. Yeah, I need 2 stone tools for a pick. I need just straight up 2 rocks for a hammer. No, I think I'm going to have to go island hopping again. Because I'm going to need a crude hammer to make a plank station. Yeah, I need a crude hammer and a refined axe, which I've got a refined axe. That's not a problem. And I actually want to save the refined axe I've got for that plank station. But I'm going to need more rocks to make a hammer. And then I'm also going to need 2 rocks to make the refined pick, because the refined pick requires 2 stone tools. And I am personally more worried about the refined pick than I am about the hammer. And to get the refined pick, we need to go shark hunting, because that's how we get leather, usually. So, yeah, fun times. Who wants to go shark hunting? So here's what we'll do. Let's head to that island over there, because that island had a ton of wrecks and a very aggressive hammerhead or 2. Well, actually, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to explore around here, because we still have the local shark population that we can encounter. And plus, it'd give me an opportunity to show how combat in this game works against things that are actually dangerous. Because while the giant crabs can be dangerous if you get them on you and can't get them off, personally, I consider them more nuisances than actual threats. So, fighting a shark, on the other hand, sharks are genuinely dangerous. So, if we're going to go shark hunting, it's going to be in our best interest to wait a little while. Let's see. It is currently 6 in the morning. Or it's almost 7. I think it's usually around 8:30, 9-ish is when the water gets clear enough to actually go into battle. So, sadly, not much we can do until then, but wait. I suppose I can scope the area out in the meantime. Let's see. So we got one. There's a second one. Did we not get 3? Or did we, and did I just miss the third one somewhere? I'm thinking, from the look of it, the answer is no, we did not. So, what I'm looking for specifically is those kind of knobbly looking boulders. One of which that we kind of have near our base. Like these. Those are mineable rocks. And once we have a pick, we can actually break these down to get more rocks. I have seen up to 3 on any given island, regardless of size, and it looks like we only got 2. So either the third one didn't spawn, or, more likely, it spawned inside of a bush. Because, you know, that kind of happens when you play Stranded Deep. Alright. Yeah, it's basically 8 o'clock. Let's save. SPS not a problem. Let's go hunt some sharks. Now, in my practice run, there was a tiger shark that hung around that boat. So, let's go over there and see if we can find him. Got my weapons? Yep. So something I don't really like about the inflatable rubber raft that we have here is how the sea anchor works. Which, granted, you know, this is probably how a sea anchor works in real life. You can't deploy it when you're too close to shore, because it uses the currents to keep itself in place. But, yeah, if you do it too shallow, it'll tell you, you can't deploy that here, it's too shallow. And it seems to be really arbitrary as to when it allows you to do that. Because sometimes I've done it, like, just barely in the reef, and sometimes I've had to go, like, basically to the shelf before it lets me deploy it. So, it's annoying, but it's an unfortunately necessary evil. So, when I encountered my first tiger shark in my practice run, it was swimming around this boat. And generally speaking, in my experience, when you're looking for sharks, you kind of just want to hang out in their territory, and eventually they'll come to you. So, he'll be around somewhere. And assuming it is, in fact, a tiger shark, it'll probably just be inquisitive, if nothing else, for at least a little bit. Now, if the RNG is deciding it doesn't want to favor us and instead gives us a hammerhead, we will probably get attacked immediately. But we will have to see. Now, unfortunately, during this shark hunt, we don't have all the time in the world. Because eventually, the sun is going to get high in the sky. Uh-oh. Well, that answers my question. It's a hammerhead. So, RNG is not on our side. So, shark combat. We want to wait for him to start, like, actually aggroing onto us. Okay, good. He's actually swimming around the rocks and stuff, which means we are in his territory. Okay. So the music's changed. He's aggroed. So we want to wait for him to charge at us and more or less throw a spear at him as he's charging. Because what that'll do is he'll recoil from the hit and go in another direction sometimes. Otherwise, he might just charge again. Ideally, what you want to have happen is you want to catch him in more or less of a stun lock, where he charges, you hit him, he recoils, and immediately charges again. like that. But he's being very defensive, which is weird for a hammerhead, but... He's swimming away. Now, something you want to be careful of when you're fighting sharks is their territory, at least... Now, when I mention territory, I'm specifically referring to the shallows sharks. They seem to have boundaries in which they will not patrol, and if their AI forces them past those boundaries, they will actually forcibly despawn and go back to wherever their spawn point is. So, those boundaries are not defined, they're invisible. So, you kind of have to just hope that you don't accidentally get a shark where he's gonna despawn and effectively waste your ammo, because I don't think the sharks get healed if that happens, but any ammo that you can see, like you can see he's got a bunch of spears sticking out of him. Once we kill him, we can get those spears back, but if he hits his little, like, territory boundary and forcibly respawns, he despawns all the spears he's had stuck in him, so it's a waste of resources. Now, the reason I have 12 crude spears is, generally speaking, if you have a hunting skill of 0 and are playing on normal, I don't know if hard mode increases their health. I know it increases their damage. But, it takes 10 direct hits with a thrown spear to kill most sharks. I believe great whites are the only ones that don't take that many. Great whites take, I think, 16, I think? But 12 is enough to kill most of the sharks that you will actually encounter in any given time frame. It only needs 10, but it's nice to have a couple of spares in case you miss. So, there we go. That's one shark dead. SPF's not doing too bad either. So here's the thing. We haven't encountered a deep ocean shark yet, so I haven't really had need to talk about them. But since I'm on the discussion of shark territories, there are basically, like, wedge-shaped... I guess you can call them... Uh-oh. Okay, so the water's getting kind of dark. I want to head back to the island, because it's about to storm. Yeah, when the water gets really dark like that, you'll notice the swells start coming. The sky gets dark. It's either about to start raining, or worse, it's about to storm. You do not want to be out on the water when it's storming. Oh yeah, I think I hear thunder too. Oh, this is a storm. The wind's howling. So, weather. There are technically 5 different kinds of weather in Stranded Deep. There is regular daytime, where it's more or less clear. Regular nighttime, where it's more or less clear. Oh, this is definitely a thunderstorm. You can have fog banks, where it'll just be, like, incredibly foggy. Fog banks are more or less pretty rare. You can have rain, which is like this, but not as bad. And then you have storms, where storms, you have rain, you have lightning, which lightning on its own doesn't do anything. You also notice the sea gets really turbulent. You can very easily get knocked out of your raft by the weather in a storm. And if a shark hits your raft while you're in a storm, you're even more likely to get knocked out of it. However, a nice little thing is anything that's reliant on water, such as these water stills, the rain will actually fill up your water stills, so take advantage of it. But besides that, as long as you're not out on the water, weather is not going to adversely affect you at all. Unfortunately, the weather patterns are random, so, you know, it's just kind of bad luck that this happened to us when we were going on a shark hunting day. But what can you do? might as well just crouch in our shelter and try to... you used to be able to clip into it and kind of like hide inside of it, but I guess you can't do that anymore. But yeah, no, not much for it. You can see the rain particles falling. They'll fill up our water stills. When we eventually start farming, it'll water our crops for us. So, yeah, as long as, like I said, as long as you're not out on the sea when a storm happens, you're fine. I have braved stormy seas before in, like, a late-game raft. And I was legit scared out there. Because something I actually wanted to note when I was making that thalassophobia warning on the way back is this game, I believe, is officially classified as an adventure game and a survival game. I would argue that this game's definitely got some horror elements to it, especially if you're thalassophobic. That low creeping dread when the sharks are around, like the song that they get's really like it oozes like dread and makes you terrified of them. Actually getting attacked by a shark, you can actually see the damage they do. Like, I think if a hammerhead hit me, I want to say hammerheads do like 1.5 bars. They hit pretty hard, considering. And then, like, great whites, if you're not at full health, can one-shot you. So, yeah, sharks are genuinely scary. And nothing, I say, is scarier than, even with an endgame raft, I remember in my single-player playthrough a long time ago, a couple years at this point, I was riding in a storm, a nighttime storm at that, trying to get home, thinking I would be safe because I was in, like, a top-tier raft. And I was incredibly nervous the entire time, because as I was going through the swells, just trying to get home, the waves constantly causing my raft to lean in one direction or the other, I started hearing the shark music. And I knew it was a goblin shark because I had passed through that area earlier in the day, and I actually saw the the goblin shark come to the surface. So I was being stalked by a goblin shark in the middle of the night, where just kind of throughout the trip, the front and back ends of my boat were dipping under the surface. Had the positioning of both me and the shark been just correct, he could have snapped me off of my boat and dragged me down to the depths, because that is something they do. If you get bitten by a shark, there is, I don't know the exact probability, but there's a chance they'll just bite you and then flee before coming back at you. And then there's a chance that they'll grab you and drag you along. The deep sea sharks are more likely to do that than the shallow sharks are. But, because I specifically was worried about that, because I had my raft going at full speed. If I got knocked off, there's no way I would have been able to catch it in time. So what time is it now? It's 3 o'clock. It's a bit late in the day. Because the music started back up, that means the storm's over. I think you can sleep through storms if it's late enough in the day, but... yeah. But yeah, no. Storms, not a joke. You definitely don't want to be messing with them. So we already got one shark, so we know this shark kind of hangs out over here. Back to what I was mentioning before, though, with kind of like the wedge-shaped quadrants around the island. I don't know exactly what directions they occupy. I don't know if they're cardinal or secondary. But I know, as far as the shallow water sharks are concerned, you will only find one of those in any given territory. And for the most part, they stay within their territories and won't cross those boundaries. If they do, they will quickly leave it. Deep water sharks, however, are a different story entirely. I don't think they follow territory rules, because I have found the same shark in multiple sections what would otherwise have been a different shark's territory if they followed the same territory rules. And I have also been attacked by multiple sharks simultaneously. Whereas that's really rare to happen in the shallows because the territories don't overlap. I have been attacked by a deep water shark and a shallow water shark at the same time. Yeah, it's getting a bit too late in the day to do a shark hunt. But I can at least kind of look around. This is what the torch is good for. Is trying to pinpoint things in the water. I'm pretty sure we're in another shark's territory around here. Because this is roundabout where the plane was, I think. Cool. Oh, I thought I saw movement. It was just refracting in the water. Where's the paddle? I think that's the tail of the... Ah, we got a hammerhead. Okay. Well, okay. Good news. We know where our next shark is. He's hanging out around the plane. So let's head back to shore. And assuming we have time, in the morning, I'll go after him. Which, looking at it, I probably won't. But we at least know where he is. So, unfortunately, there really isn't much more we can do today. It's too late in the day to continue a shark hunt. The water's too dark. And, yeah, it'll be night before we know it. And, unfortunately, there's really nothing for me to do on my island now. Because I've clear-cut all the trees that I can cut down. The fibrous leaves haven't respawned yet, so I can't go around looking for those. So, yeah, until we get a little bit more set up, there really isn't much we can do at night at this point, besides sleep. And unfortunately, this game also uses the Minecraft rule where you can't sleep at any time. You can only sleep at night or during a thunderstorm. So, yeah, that's kind of dumb. Like, in a situation like this, when you've got nothing to do, sleep is probably one of the smartest things you can do. But, I'm sure there's probably a reason for it. I'm not a game developer, what do I know? Or at least not professionally, anyway. Let's see. I suppose while we're waiting for night to fall, I can share another story with you. Going to when I got attacked by 2 sharks at once. I was doing a shark hunt on an island. I was specifically hunting the shallow water sharks because that's what I tend to do. And as I was busy fighting a tiger shark, a great white entered the shallows from behind and started circling me. This made this incredibly dangerous because I'd already used most of my ammo on the tiger shark because I still had spears at this point. There are upgraded weapons that we will be getting. Probably not for at least another couple of episodes at least, but I digress. Most of my ammo had already been spent killing the tiger shark. It was like 1 hit away from death. So this great white coming in made it to where I couldn't retrieve my ammo because I'd have to jump in the water to get my ammo back. And he just kind of swam around in that area and refused to leave. And he came up like right to the shoreline as much as he was able to because he really wanted to get me. The deep sea sharks are really aggressive. Alright, well, I'm a save. Probably gonna sleep. So, let's see. What time is it now? Okay, so assuming you go to bed whenever the moon rises, which I think is like around 9 or 10, you sleep it off and you wake up at like 4 in the morning. But you can see that we took a pretty heavy hit to our food gauge there. Right, well. Let's see. Another scary moment I had was when I'm debating if I should tell this story later because it's a bit more relevant to some gameplay we'll be getting into in another episode or so, probably next time. But I might want to tell it now. Yeah, what the heck. There are certain resources that you can only get in the shallows, which we'll go looking for those eventually. But I was harvesting those. And I usually do that after clearing all of the sharks around a given island in the shallows. And I learned a very important lesson that day. I learned, it was at that point that I found out, just because you killed all the shallow sharks doesn't mean you can't aggro a deep water shark and they come into the shallows to attack you. Because I was harvesting these nodes, just minding my own business. All the sharks were dead, I thought, because I'd killed all the shallow sharks. While I'm busy mining this resource, I hear the shark music. I'm like, wait, I killed all the sharks. What's going on? Next thing I know, I'm getting dragged into the deep by a great white. The only reason he didn't succeed was because I had managed to swap weapons. Like, I'd swapped off my pickaxe to a weapon before he grabbed me, and was kind of stabbing him the whole time to make him let me go. So, took half my health off, made me bleed, and I kind of just backpedaled back onto the island, constantly keeping my eye on him. He could have killed me had I not had really good timing with a melee attack, because as you noticed with the hammerhead shark that I fought, when I damaged it, it did a 180 and turned tail. This great white was coming in for the kill. I timed the melee attack just right, stabbed it in the face, and made it turn away. And that gave me just enough time to get to shallow enough water to where it couldn't follow me. That scared me so much because it was unexpected, which is good. But that's when I learned that the deep water sharks could indeed enter the shallows and attack you. Because that happening nearly killed me. But anyway, it's now morning, and it's been about 3 hours. Yeah, we're at the 3-hour mark, so I'll save here, and we'll continue this next week. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode, and I hope y'all are looking forward to more Let's Stream Stranded Deep. Hope y'all have a good night, and I'll see y'all next time. Sleep well, everybody.